There needs to be a new apparatus put in place that will actually hold schools accountable for how they're educating students, especially students that look like me and many of you. Listen, standardized tests has gotten a lot of attention. Let's just be very clear on what standardized tests are. Standardized tests are tests in which the same test is given in the same manner to all test takers. Everything from the SAT all the way down to the written test you'll take at the DMV to get your driver's license. Tests in public schools have been very, very controversial, especially when No Child Left Behind came and it became somewhat of a litmus test to be able to judge schools and their performance and how well they're doing with kids. I've never been good at taking tests. I've never liked taking standardized tests. Even when I was applying to grad school, I tried to find as many ways around taking a GRE or whatever test to get in. Here's my take on it. I think there's a lot of things that's racist in this country, including these tests at times. Here's the other thing that might shock you though. I'm not for just taking tests away from schools because we still deserve a modicum of quality. We still deserve something that is telling us if these schools and these teachers are doing right by our babies in these communities. I need something because I didn't get what I deserve, and many black and brown and poor kids are still not getting what they deserve. And guess what? We don't have a way to say, hey, this school or these educators are failing this child, or this is working very well and we should keep doing it. I'm not for just taking it away because we need an alternative that will be everywhere for the black, brown, and poor kids that deserve to ensure that they are getting quality, and there needs to be some recourse if they're not. This is not a novel concept. Standardized testing has been so controversial just across the country that a few years ago, there was this opt-out movement that a lot of people were taking advantage of. A lot of black and brown folks in public education. It meant that you could opt out of the standardized tests. Here's my thing that I would say just to my community. Let's just look at the institution that is public education, which I have gone to my entire life, all the way through college. I went to state schools. And then get into your fancy private colleges. State schools, baby. I was always a horrible test taker. And when those tests came out, I guess I did decent. I didn't always do very, very well on them, but I was always ranked pretty high in my high school for my GPA. I was often in the top 10% of my class. However, when the test would come back and I would look at my scores nationally, I was probably not even middle of the road. Here's where I got my wake-up call. When I started in university, let's just say I was remedial everything. I was remedial math and I was remedial English language arts. So let me see. So then I started to have to question, well, I got A's in AP English and these AP math classes, but I couldn't get past the general assessment test in college. I went to a school that was on quarter system, which means that I took 3 additional quarters of remedial English and 3 additional quarters of remedial math. That, by the way, did not count towards graduation, and I still had to pay for it. Oh, and if you failed those classes a number of times, you're not able to continue at the university. The people that were in those classes with me all happened to be black and brown. You know who wasn't in that class or in those remedial groups with us? White kids. In this situation, I am not caping for tests that I hate. We have to take a collective accountability for what is happening to our young black and brown and poor students in public schools across the country. I don't care what type of school your kid goes to. I don't care if it's a traditional school. I don't care if it is a charter school. I don't care if they're in a private school. I don't care. All those various types of schools should be held accountable to the results that they are producing for those young people. And I don't like hearing the excuse, well, what about people that are poor? And what about people that don't have a lot? I grew up very poor, and I'm not saying because I did it, everybody else can do it. No, no, no. What I'm saying is, I feel like I deserve a better education because I was poor. I feel like I deserved a better education because of the things that I was going to have to face in the future. I think that I deserved a better public education because this life is not fair. And this is supposed to be a ground that is preparing me. And guess what? Schools make a lot of money off of black and brown bodies being in those seats. You deserve better. In the restaurant of life, you ordered and were promised filet mignon that was medium rare. And they sent you a dry, burnt ass hamburger. Man, if you don't send that shit back, oh, I am getting very upset doing this video. Right now, and a lot of people don't know this. If you're in education, you might know this, but the average Joe may not know this. In public education across this country, where the majority of black folks, brown folks, and people living in poverty attend across the country, okay? The teaching force is 80% white, mostly women. In fact, less than 2% of all teachers are black men. Now let's flip some numbers. What do you think would happen if the vast majority of kids in public education were white, the majority of teachers across this country, 80%, give or take, were brown, mostly women, teaching white kids and failing them at the rate in which public education is failing black, brown, and poor kids today? What do you think would happen? Do you think that it would be these same conversations? Do you think that we would have the same talk every year, year over year, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years? No. Okay. Here's your opportunity for your agentic moment. When I say agentic moment or I mention agency, what I am saying is for you to know what is best for you and how to get the best out of circumstances or situations. And if you can't get those things, you know who to go to or what to do to get help in those things. Whether you look at the standardized test or whether you don't. I would say this to the parents out there and students that might be a little bit older. You need to find ways to hold your educational institution accountable. And if it's not going to be test scores, which is fine, you need to do the work and find out if your child is on grade level for reading and grade level for math. You need to go and ask those teachers, you need to ask those schools. If you're not getting a straight answer from them, you need to go online and find some assessments. Find multiple if you want so you can even or average out the scores. But you have to do this because this system is not looking out for you and your best interest. It's just not. I don't know how long or what has to happen for us to finally be like, you know what? This ain't working. I will no longer accept this because the only thing we're sacrificing and losing is our babies. We cannot wait for this system. It employs too many people. It's too much of an economic boom for so many people. School districts tend to be a top 3 job provider in the towns that they're in. In many places, they're the #1 job provider. I'm very angry. And black, brown, and poor kids are going to be sacrificed for this. They're going to continue to be sacrificed. And it's going to continue to pass the buck and not be their fault and always blamed on poverty and always blamed on funding. But if it was a different group of people, they wouldn't stand for it. Like I said earlier, you order something different. Send that shit back. Send it back. You got to fight. They don't care about you. They don't. Y'all be smooth. The better question is, are you okay with failing? Are you okay with losing? If you can answer those things as yes, then I would say run like hell. Start running right now. Stop waiting for folks.